I have a feeling that this is probably just going to be a quick introduction. So I've got the record on now, but probably just a quick introduction of what we're doing. Oh, Bren, we've lost you to audio only. I guess your internet signal went a bit poor.
Oh, no. Okay, let me see what I can do. Hold on. Can you hear me, though?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you just fine. And we've got your nice little avatar picture showing, so that's good. So I'm Pam, and anyone who knows me on Twitter would know me as Growing North. And I am in Thunder Bay, Ontario. So it sounds like Windsor is sitting at 56 Fahrenheit, and I'm at 14 Fahrenheit right now. And I have what I call experimental, but it's a functional all-year greenhouse. And I blog about that as much as I can. I've been a little neglecting getting blogs out, but I do a lot of microblogging with Twitter and tweeting it out, Instagram, Facebook, so just to keep people knowing what's going on in there. And I like to share the successes, and I unfortunately do have failures that I share every so often, but things so far are going good this year. Oh, there's Bren back again. So
yeah.
maybe.
Okay.
Did you want to introduce yourself, Bren?
Sorry. Hey, yeah. Thanks for having me and hooking this up. BLAB is pretty cool. I wish I could be out in the dome right now, but it's a little dark, right?
Yeah, I have the work lights, but I don't think you have any set up yet in yours.
No, we did put a temporary light bulb out there just so I could tell, what was going on,
Yeah.
But no, so yeah, if you're new to BLAB, you can follow me. I am on Twitter, which Twitter hooks to this, right?
Yeah.
BG_garden. And yeah, no, this will be fun. I'm excited to talk greenhouses, right? And domes.
Yeah, mine is the one that I put as the photo for the BLAB here. So it looks more like a traditional greenhouse, but it's insulated on the entire north side, and I just have glazing on the one half of the south. And that's all that I really need because the sun is barely up. It just kind of peaks above the horizon and then runs across this little horizon and pops right back down in the middle of winter. So there's no point in me putting anything anywhere else because the sun's just really not going to get there. So I'm wasting all of that insulation chance.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So kind of like, so the dome, I'm very new to it. We just built it in October. So it's all learning every day, learning something new with it. But the shape of it, I grow right now in the 20-foot geodesic biodome. And it's covered with a material called solar wrap. It's pretty cool. Actually, I wish Clint could come on and explain the technical end of the solar wrap. It's pretty darn cool.
Well, if you have a link, I'd pop it in. But you're on the phone right now, so it's a little more difficult, right?
Yeah. Well, if you Google it, it comes up. But yeah, maybe can I tweet out the link after this event?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
You tweet what you want to, Bren. Go for it.
Right?
Yeah, mine's definitely not as fancy looking as yours. Mine's a lot more insulation and hard angles, we'll say, but it definitely has done its job.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm wishing I had a lot more sunlight. We've had a very dark November. So it was having trouble generating its heat during the day. So my backup heaters actually had to pop on a little bit, which is unfortunate. But it's just because I have no sun heating it during the day. It's barely getting to about 11 Celsius, which I'm not sure what that is Fahrenheit, but it's barely getting to 11 Celsius during the day. So it's just not generating enough heat to heat up the heat sink right now. And it's just because it's...
Is that 11? Is that a little bit below freezing?
11 Celsius? No, but I can get that. Let me just pop somewhere here.
I should have a chart.
51. So it's about 51 during the day.
Oh.
And that's the highest it's getting.
Yeah. But it's important. It's important to have the sun.
Well, for the setup that I have, yeah, because it's not set up to rely on the backup heater, which is why it's a backup heater. I did actually a blog about the whole heatsink system, but yours is pretty much passive solar as well, although you don't have the heatsink set up. But mine's passive solar. When the hot sun hits, it actually heats up very, very high. minus 40 Celsius, it'll still hit about 30 Celsius on an incredibly clear sunny day. And then it takes all that air and it actually pumps it into rocks that I have about 6 feet down. And then overnight, it lets that hot air percolate up. But right now, it's just not generating daylight heat because all I have is clouds.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem. I mean, if you don't have sun, even with the solar wrap, like Clint of Harvest Pathways, actually, you could go to his site. I believe he has, you know what, if you tweet him at Harvest Pathways, he can give you all the technical information on that solar wrap. But, you know, if you don't have sunlight, you know, you're in trouble, right? Well, you can grow some things though, right?
Depending on what it is, there's some people who do a lot of success. I was really hoping one of these days we can get Nikki Jabor to join us. She does amazing stuff with the cold frames. And so that's just in the ground with a little bit of a solar and very, very specific crops you can grow, just like in my greenhouse and just like in yours, Bren, over winter in your biodome. But very, very specific crops you can grow over winter. Definitely nothing with fruiting on it. You're not going to get a tomato.
Yeah. No. So, I've always been a fan of your greenhouse. I like how you grow because, you know, I started out with the conventional greenhouse, which in fact, I still have it going because, you know, it's got the backup heat and, you know, I've grown in it for the past 6 years. So I'm confident with it. Right. And, you know, so I'm taking baby steps with the dome, but I tell you, I am impressed. It's pretty darn cool having the larger space. And I did a section kind of like your area. I like how you grow basically right in the ground in like raised beds, right?
Yeah, the roots get more heat, actually, a lot more heat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And then the leaves are like right sitting there on the ground. And so any little bit of heat, they get it.
It's awesome. I love it.
I like planting because you can just drop the seeds everywhere and you're not limited by anything. You just kind of plant it like you would a big open space.
Right. It's really cool. And then I still have my I have LED lights too. I'm still tempted, you know, eventually here I'd like to move those out to the dome because I do like my tomatoes and peppers.
Right.
So yeah, one day.
I don't know if the roots will be warm enough unless maybe early spring you can get a head start on them. Or let's overwinter some of them.
Okay. And you definitely have to have probably, you know, the heater in there, you know, whatever that's called, not passive heat, but what do you call that when it's man-made heat?
I don't know, generated.
Okay, there you go. Sounds technical.
Yeah, because I don't know, mine. I call it passive solar because I'm not doing anything. It's not active heat. Okay. It's totally passive. Right. And the only active part I would say is the fans that turn on to push the air down because I don't have those old solar panels. I'd like to, but because it's in an urban backyard, I mean, it's just I walk outside my house, I walk into my garage, and there's my greenhouse attached to it. So I'm going right in the middle of the city. I mean, we've got probably 110,000 people here. We were 130. And so it's a city. And I grow right in the middle of it. So no big tons of space. You don't need it as long as you have that southern exposure light in the winter. I got lucky.
Do you get a lot of neighbors who come over and they're like, hey, what's going on? Right?
Not really. When I was building it, I got a lot of neighbors going, what are you doing?
Okay.
So I've got a lot more of that, which is unfortunate. And it's kind of like, I was like, okay, I'm doing something.
All right.
You're not invited.
Hopefully inspiring.
A lot of people have said that. Yeah, not necessarily my neighbors, but a lot of other people they really love it because I did the whole rest of the yard in big raised beds, again, because I want to grow in the city. And I want to prove to people that anybody could do that. And it seems to be working. I've got a number of people, not neighbors, but a lot of people who are growing now and converting their yards into raised beds. And
that's awesome. Yeah.
What's the coldest your dome has done?
Wow, like the reading outside. See, it's kind of hard for me to judge or be able to tell what it is in the middle of the night because, like I said, I don't have like the digital hooked up like I do on my conventional yet. We've got a lot of trench work going on right now here. A huge job we started just before we built the dome, and so it's taken a little longer, but that's okay. So at night when I tuck it in, it's, even the other day when it was maybe, it was probably 5 above freezing. So, like 38 or so all day, most of the day, not a lot of sun. The greenhouse was still a good 45, 50.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think those large containers of water I brought in, right? And the big, those big gallon, or they're bigger than gallon, not sure, barrels. I don't know how many gallons are in there. I need to find that out, don't I? But I think that's helping a lot. And then, I put straw bales in there and just as many dark containers I could find with soil. And I've had time now to actually plant some seeds in that soil. So you're right. I noticed we got quite a few people on here. This is really cool.
Yeah, there's quite a number of people, and it's wonderful, and we're getting some comments, and it's really good to see that Jay is still getting his apples done. I thought he was done with those, but apparently apples are still going.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, yeah. Well, harvesting them?
Cooking. Still cooking his apples.
Oh, okay.
And I don't have any apple stuff to eat, so I'm kind of bummed.
Oh, yeah, that sounds good.
Send some up, Jay. I'll help you with that.
Right? That's awesome. But that'd be a fun thing. Did you ever think about going a little larger and actually having some trees in there?
Actually, I have. I've put a couple pear trees in, Asian pear, because there's no way they'll survive in my climate.
No.
Absolutely no way. So I had some little Asian pear trees and I dropped them in. They're just second-year whips right now. They're nothing big yet. But they've made it. They're doing well. And what I plan to do is graft them to each other and keep them kind of espaliered in the middle, so that I've got this little tree. And in the winter, obviously, things will still get sun because it loses all its leaves in the winter. They still do. They go through the seasons as though I've created some new little climate for them. And
that's cool.
So I'm curious to see what happens with them. So I'm going to espalier them and just kind of keep them dwarfed down. And because I grow right in the ground, I'm just going to let the roots go and see what happens.
Yeah, that's very cool. I'm actually surprised. I was just thinking, because you've inspired me so much over the last year or so. I've known you maybe 2 years on Twitter, maybe, right?
I honestly don't even know when I jumped on. I know that the greenhouse has been going for 1.
Yeah.
So
I'm actually kind of surprised. I mean, I see a lot more gardeners using greenhouses in the winter on Facebook. They seem to connect more on Facebook, which is kind of cool because, back when I first got my conventional greenhouse, there weren't many gardeners that were sharing what they had, if they had greenhouses, so it's kind of neat to see more people sharing because I don't know, you help me. Every time we talk, I learn something new. It's awesome. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope everything's working for you.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, that was brilliant the other day about putting the thermometers in different locations in the greenhouse. And you're right, up on the walls, not helping at all.
No.
It's growing up there,
Yeah, the only place you care about is where the leaves are. The rest of it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I think where I learned that from or picked that up from, I used to work in a garden center. And so that's a huge, that's a large, like what, I don't know, 50 by 100 or something, right?
Probably with active fans and moving the air. And, yeah.
I didn't think that. All I knew is they had the thermometer on the wall and you went and checked it and there you are, right? So, but this would be nice. And you're right. Being able to tell that it, if it's cooler in the containers or anyways, that's cool. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad it's going to work out for you because that's one of those fun things about a winter greenhouse, or if you're doing the cold frames or the biodome like you're doing,
Yeah.
is you're now working with microclimates. You're not actually working as a full system anymore, because the soil, you're worried about keeping the soil warm. You may actually find that you want to put straw bales around the outside. Because since you have the one raised section, it doesn't matter if you have it clear down to the ground, the lights get in, because the plants are now raised. So you may find that you want to put straw bales around to insulate the root section a little bit and stop the heat from escaping it. But you're now working with microclimates. The above air collects the heat for you. And if you have electrical, I'd say put a gentle circulation fan in that kind of pushes the air down. Okay. Because you don't have the heat sink, but you are working with a microclimate, because you're not growing anything where the heat's collecting. Okay. Yeah, unless you have, you're right, baskets.
You're right.
But
yeah, my husband was actually thinking about putting a ceiling fan up there. Is that kind of like what you're talking about?
Yeah, if you have enough strength in the beams to support a ceiling fan electrical box, like a fan box, do it. Just put it on its absolute slowest. You're going to want it on very, very slow circulation, pushing the air downwards, because what it's basically going to do as well for you is going to move the moisture. I'm actually considering putting a very, very, very small dehumidifier in mine on a timer to run at night right now, because humidity, as soon as those temperatures drop, because you're never high in the winter, you end up with 80 and 90% humidity, and if your air is not moving, you're going to end up with a lot of soil-borne fungus and mold. And the lettuce, and any lettuces you have will just damp off. That's it. They'll just rot.
Okay.
So, not only do the aphids love it, but
yeah,
it's a very, very different world.
I meant to tell you about that. You know, when I was out there again today, I kind of wiggled things around again, and I'm not seeing them. It's almost like they're hiding.
They probably are.
I don't know if the other night when it got, I mean, will cooler temperatures kill them, or no? Because if it kills them, it's probably going to kill the plants too, right? The vegetables.
Unfortunately, yeah. So, they're probably going to a bit of a nymph stage. You're probably like halfway through a cycle on the aphids. And the nymphs are next to impossible to see in that. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, great.
Bam. Okay. Yes. Well, I got that site, you know, that you told me about, which I don't know. Can you explain that a little bit, or is that another blab?
Which, the biocontrols?
Yes.
Okay. I can mention them, but I mean, there's way too much to go into, for sure.
Okay. That's what I figured.
I did put, you went to that article I posted for you, right? With a little bit more about the battle with aphids.
Yes, very scary, very scary.
They're horrible. Ask Tom, who he does small scale gardening at on Twitter. He's on every so often now, but he brought some plants to overwinter inside and didn't realize there were aphids, and he thought he could handle them himself with some homemade sprays, and they just don't work. Yeah. I ran into the same misconception. I thought I could handle it. I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. Just, get rid of the aphids, great. And then all of a sudden you clean them off a little bit. Oh, wow. Right. Silly me. Apparently they're smarter than I am.
Yeah.
And, so what I did is, on my blog, I do have the article about it, but it's, there's biocontrols, and they're beneficial insects. They don't care about people. They don't care about the plants. They don't care about anything like that. They're actually predators to the insects that we want to get rid of. So they're the best thing to have around, and especially if you don't put pesticides out, you actually have a better chance with beneficial insects, because you're not also killing off your helpers.
Awesome.
So I don't ever put pesticides out, and even in my summer greenhouses, I don't use pesticides. And I found in my summer greenhouse this year, I had about 5 beneficials, because I had the syrphid flies that came in, and their larvae also eat the aphids.
Very cool.
You'll have predatory mites, which will eat your spider mites. You'll have things with like green lacewing, which will eat not only the aphids, but they'll eat mites. And it's a very, very tiny parasitoid wasp that runs around, that flies around all over the place, laying eggs inside aphids. So one little wasp will lay about 200 eggs. You get these little gold, looks like little gold beads, is what's left of the aphid on the leaf. So you just have to wipe them off later. But it's called a mummy, and it hatches another wasp that's ready to kill another 200. So they're amazing.
That's cool.
Do the job. They do the job better than any spray ever would, because they just find those aphids. That's what they're interested in. They're not interested in anything else. They're just interested in the aphids, and that's what I want them to care about. So I use a mixture of beneficials, and you have to pay attention to what temperatures they like, because now you're growing in high humidity, cool temperatures. So the green lacewings, they're good. They're non-specific, meaning they'll go after aphids, but they'll also go after a few other things. So that's really nice, because they'll go after, things like thrips. They'll go after spider mites. They'll go after your aphids. They'll go after everything. And you want to pay attention to if you have generalists, like the lacewing, or if you have specific ones, because a generalist will also eat. So
sorry,
you could run into that as an issue. But that's the beneficials, and they're amazing. They're absolutely amazing. So if you don't use pesticides, you can go to beneficial insect, and they'll take care of everything for you.
Can you hear me okay?
What's that?
Did you lose me?
No, we just got a little bit of feedback. No, we're good.
Sorry about that. So tell me, are crickets good? Because I actually have some crickets in the greenhouse, or in the dome, not the greenhouse, the dome.
I don't know. I would look into that, and I'd find out if cricket larvae will actually attack your plants in any way. They might not.
Ooh, okay.
I really don't know anything about crickets. We have them up here. I've never had them in a greenhouse. Grasshoppers are bad. Every spring I'm fighting little baby grasshoppers trying to eat all my little seedlings.
Oh, really?
But
wow.
I don't know anything about crickets. So.
Okay. They're kind of nice to hear.
Yeah. So I was listening to them, and then all of a sudden, if you want it quiet, you can't seem to find the one that's making all the noise. If you want to get
right.
Yeah.
Right.
There's always that one.
Yeah, that's what's going on. So are you starting any seeds, new seeds?
I will be. I planted my initial, because I'm going to stagger crops this year. That's another thing to pay attention to. Summer gardening, winter gardening, doesn't matter. Staggering is a good thing. So if you want to have a steady supply, you're going to stagger it. And I planted end of October a number of seedlings, and they're growing slow again because it's been so dark. And the temperatures are cooler right now because there's not enough passive solar. So that'll change. Whatever. It is what it is right now. It'll change.
Yeah.
So I left some spaces open to replant another succession of greens in there. And so I noticed that you started with a number of pre-starts, and you also put in seeds in yours, which are coming up nicely. And you definitely have a little bit more sun, and you definitely have a bit more heat than I do. So that's a nice
thing. Right now, we'll see what happens. Last year was funny. It was very cloudy. The first 2 years that I grew in the conventional, it was very sunny, which was nice. But, like I said, I've pretty much used my growing area for the winter to just to winter over hibiscus and my citrus. I have citrus trees. I have a kumquat and 2 Meyer lemon and a lime.
All things that I would never be able to do.
Right. I hope one day to be able to move them into the dome. We'll see. It'd be nice because now I have the space. I could let them get a little bigger, right? Because now I prune them, keep them short, but they produce great. They do great. But my conventional greenhouse, it never goes below 50. So. And
that's because that's what the heater is set to.
Yeah, I've got a heater in my conventional, but
lemon trees winter.
Yeah, it's actually I'm harvesting off of it right now. It's kind of nice,
Oh, see, I'm just excited that I have some peppers that are still producing from the summer. I'm like, oh yay, I still have a bunch of peppers.
Right.
No citrus for me.
Yeah, but the dome's fun. My so the lettuce just started. It finally took off. It took a while. I think it was just I'm really bad about hoarding seeds. I mean, I have an addiction to seeds, and I think a few of the packets that I used were a little too old. So, well, I mean that's what happened.
That happens.
Yeah, but the package that I knew was brand new. That one did great. It's already it's up a good inch now today. So yeah, that's exciting. And of of course, the radishes, radishes do great. That's fun.
The radishes are amazing, and anybody who gets a cool temperature greenhouse going, or even just the chance to cool temperature grow something, seriously do radishes. They come out sweeter, milder. They're super juicy. I'm not actually a fan of my summer radishes anymore. No. I find that put them in a cold weather greenhouse where, I mean, they're struggling along, but they're growing just fine. Really, they're just slower. They taste so much better. Oh man, white icicle radishes. Very, very much. Yeah, white icicle radishes are the best. I've done Easter egg ones. I've done cherry bell. I've done a whole pile of different ones last year to try them out.
Wow.
The white icicle ones, oh, they're just amazing. I put some Easter egg in again this year for color, but I'm really looking forward to the white icicle. They're amazing.
I've used some of the green from the radishes in salad. Are you allowed to do that?
I'm pretty sure. Actually, I believe in the Middle East countries, radish leaves are a common food.
It's really good.
And there's I grow some Asian radish, or not radishes, some Asian turnips. They're called a Hakurai turnip, and the turnip itself only grows about that big. And the leaves are not hairy at all. They're very smooth leaf. And the leaf is really nice in salads. Just kind of drop it in like you would any other green. And then you just take that the little radish bulb and put it on top. It's just amazing. They're super sweet and they're almost buttery. Yeah, they're almost a buttery, and they grow great in the cold weather greenhouse.
So I noticed someone on here has a lemon tree. And he hasn't had any lemons. No lemons yet. 4 or 5 years old.
Has it flowered? I wonder if it's flowered.
Yeah. Tell if it's a flower. Like how big is this lemon tree? Is it a good, at least, I think mine are about, I want to say 20 inches tall, maybe. Is that what you would say? Yeah.
About 2 feet?
That's a bummer. Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's about 2 feet. I keep them pruned back just because I don't want them too large, to be able to move them around. Let's see. Oh, mine might be a dud.
Did it come from a seed? Was it a seed or was it one that you purchased? Because if it came from a seed, it might be a problem.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, most fruit trees, citrus, come from. Well, most fruit trees that I'm aware of and citrus come from grafting, where you'll take one that is growing with the characteristics and the traits you want, and it gets grafted to a rootstock. Quite often, if you plant an apple seed, I'm more familiar with apple seeds, you'll get a very bitter apple if you get an apple at all. And that's because now it's cross-pollinated and it's doing whatever it wants for its own genetics. So orchards, apple orchards, the trees that you buy at the store, most of those are grafted. Well, hey, if you're using the leaves in rye and ginger ale, that's perfect. You don't need the fruit.
Yeah, really? No kidding.
I mean, I'd keep the tree and see what happens, because a lot of people get very discouraged as well when they try and grow avocado pips. You grow a little avocado tree right from the stone, and it's beautiful, and people wonder where their avocados are. Well, if you grow an avocado from the stone, you're waiting 13 years for an avocado. Whereas the ones that you get at the store that you would be planting are already older, and they're usually a grafted tree again. So they're for the characteristics that you definitely want, and you're not worried about whatever genetics you might be getting out of the actual seed.
Yeah. That would be fun to grow it from a seed, though. See, I bought my plants were starter plants, and both my lemons are the Meyer lemon variety, right? And they produce once a year. I did see it slow down a few years ago, but I've been really, I've made it a habit to, let's see, in the spring, I get my lemon and my lime confused, sorry, because they actually harvest at different times. I'm not sure what the science behind that is, but anyways, I just make sure I put kind of freshen up the soil, which, I use all, it's organic soil. And then I make sure I have this calcium It's an organic calcium that I got
Bone
from
meal?
the garden center.
Maybe a bone meal?
Maybe, but it's calcium. It's
Okay.
like that's the main ingredient in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it
I
could
don't
just be
know.
a rendered bone meal or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. And it does great. I mean, when I started doing that, I always get, I've probably picked over a dozen little limes or lemons off of that tree, and there's still probably a dozen more on there. And it's only like 2 feet tall, if that.
And you're growing in
So that's
Ohio, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can do that. In the summer, they love it. When probably I wait till the end of May, you know, um, make sure you're past all the hard frost. But I'll just take those large containers and I move them right out into the garden, right? They make a great patio container plant, gorgeous. The kumquats are fun. Have you ever had a kumquat before?
No, I don't
It's
think it's
pretty
a very
cool.
common item up here. So,
They're fun. It's just a neat little fruit, little tiny fruit. They're kind of sour and then sweet, and it's just fun to grow it and be like,
it'll
hey,
probably
I
be like
grew
a bit of a
this,
bitter plum where you get the sour skin and then you get the sweet inside.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but citrus, right? But yeah, so my
Well, I don't
lemon
think
tree
gene therapy would
needs.
do it, but
I don't know
it's
what
hard to
that
say.
is.
Try giving it some nutrient. Maybe try giving it a number of years, because I really don't know if lemons from seed are similar to avocados from seed, where they take 10, 13 years before they produce. Or it could just be
Okay.
that from the seed, it's going on height genetics, and it's deciding that it wants a certain height before it's mature. It's next to impossible to really say. I'm actually, oddly enough, I have a master's in microbiology and molecular and all of that. That's where my training is, and business. And plant genetics are just one of those really, really interesting things.
Yeah,
So
it's
I
cool.
really couldn't say. I know more bacterial and mammalian genetics than tree genetics, but I do know that cross-pollination and planting a fruit pip or a fruit seed, you're probably not going to get. You might get some really neat, new, awesome characteristics, because they do a lot of breeding to get new apple varieties. But generally speaking, you'll just get either a sour apple or something that you weren't necessarily looking for.
Very cool.
So.
That's fun stuff.
So I'm not sure if anybody had questions. I don't think it's going to turn into a pod person. No triffids happening here. You're good. No day of the triffids.
Yay.
So, I mean, we've mentioned that humidity is a big problem. It's a really big problem. It goes down during the day when the temperature goes up, which is expected. But as soon as that temperature starts dropping and then the temperature stays low, you've got a sealed up area. You can't vent it to the outside. You will end up with humidity. So if you have a greenhouse or a biodome, it's a really important thing to put at least a circulation fan in to keep that air moving, and also to mix the air temperatures, because you are working with microclimates. So you're going to want to keep the temperature from the wall, which when the sun is up is going to be really, really warm, and the temperature from your water ballast. So if you put a water ballast in the middle, it's going to be cooler during the day, warmer during the night. So you want to mix all these temperatures to keep things flowing, and also to move that air around. And if you don't mix your temperatures, you're probably going to end up with a really, really hot spot, and it's then followed by an incredibly cold spot right at your window. So.
Yeah.
So just things to keep
that.
in mind, that humidity, temperature, it's really good. I always keep my thermostat for my backup heater at the plants, because that's where I'm worried about the temperature. I don't care what my wall is. I don't care what my ceiling is. I don't care. I have temperatures there so I can read them and know. But at night, for my backup heater, my thermostat sits... sorry, there was just a question here about fire risks and safety.
I see that. Mm-hmm.
If you have a heater that is that's cleared for use in a home, you're fine. Mm-hmm. Make sure you follow the installation. procedures. Make sure it's installed properly. Make sure you have it away from any issues, and you should be fine. You're not generating sawdust. If you were generating sawdust, I'd see it's a problem. I went with a direct vent furnace, so it actually takes its air from outside and vents outside. So there's absolutely nothing coming to the greenhouse. It's the kind that you'd recommend for orchids. But because the greenhouse is so sealed all winter, I didn't want any chance of any kind of venting into the greenhouse. So I went with a really small pilot light direct vent. So there's really only heat ever entering the greenhouse. Everything else happens outside the back wall, and it was installed with the proper specifications, space. If you're putting in an old furnace from your basement where you have a direct vent to the flame, it's a very different system. Pay attention to it. Make sure that it's proper. Have it inspected, and make sure that you're not generating anything that could be a problem, like dusts or sawdusts or anything like that could become a particulate in the air that would be explosive. So that's generally why they don't want you to install certain kinds of furnaces in a woodworking area or a garage, is because you have explosion chance. Sure. But other than that, I wouldn't say there's a fire risk or safety. Your light bulbs are only there usually for working. I don't supplement light. So I have cold temperature, low light requirements for the plants that I put in the winter. They only need a few hours of daylight, nothing major at all, because I don't get that, and I'm not really interested in putting a lot of energy, electrical cost into putting grow lights in. Right. But I wouldn't say there's any major fire risks or safety risks. Humidity, watch where your electrical goes. Make sure you use exterior electrical, because you're going to end up with condensation on it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Using interior electrical is not great. So if you put a work light in, make sure it's an exterior grade or a high humidity, so like a bathroom grade light or something like that. So,
all very good information.
Something you might want to think about with your ceiling fan, actually, Bren.
Yeah.
Get an exterior fixture for it.
Yeah. Yeah, my husband's pretty good at that. He's into that safety stuff.
that safety stuff.
Want to grow food, not, and stay alive, right?
Yeah. My husband's usually the one reminding me about that stuff. I'm like, oh, yeah, I got it.
Yeah, right. I know. That would be me.
And he's like, what, are you climbing a ladder? No. Why are you 20 feet in the air? Because.
But yeah, I definitely want to hang some things or plants, do some maybe strawberries or something and hang in containers, because it is definitely warmer higher up, right?
During the day.
Sometimes, yes. Oh, right. Yes. Yeah.
During the day, just put a thermometer at them and see what happens. It'd be interesting to know.
That's a good plan.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that. I actually do have a hook out there, but I don't have any plants hanging from there yet. Just like I said, I'm trying to build up confidence, But
just stick something there, and if it dies, then
That's true. That's true. I might have some extra strawberry plants. But the cool thing is seeds are cheap. So, it doesn't hurt to try it,
No.
Just give it a try. But I hope sometime we definitely, I know we'll be able to get Clint on here. So he's in New Hampshire, and he's with Harvest Pathways, again, is his website. And his dome is a 38-foot, and it's pretty darn cool. He's got fish in there. And,
oh, nice. Hydroponic? Tilapia?
It's very cool. Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah, it'd be neat to talk to him and, learn some cool stuff about these domes. Pretty cool. My neighbor's a little freaked out, but
my neighbors just kind of look at me and they kind of, oh, okay, what's she doing now?
Whatever.
Yeah.
But
thank you. I've got a compliment on the blog. My heat ballast was experimental. It does work. If someone else is doing it, I have a picture of the size of the stones. I would suggest putting bigger stones than I did in. I don't have quite the amount of airflow. Even after doing some repairs this spring, I dug the whole thing up 6 feet of stones and fixed up the pipes at the bottom and put them all back in. You don't need a gym membership when you do it. But I think I needed some bigger stones. My airflow is still not quite what I want it to be, but it does work. I mean, the air does get down there. It does heat it up. I just don't think it's as efficient as I want it to be. So just a little word of advice if anyone is following that. And I'm going to put a comment at the end of that blog post, edit it, that if you have the chance, put some larger stones in than what I've done, or even just space some chimney brick around, some fire brick, and make sure they've got lots of big air spaces between them.
Very cool.
So.
So it sounds like I need to move more of my leftover pavers and things like that into the dome, maybe, huh? Just to collect some heat from that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could do that before the snow comes.
Yeah, and if you don't have your snow yet, grab some solid bales of straw and put it around the bottom of your raised bed area, because having it without insulation against it on the outside isn't giving you any more light because they're already raised up.
Right.
So
True.
just use that to your benefit and put more insulation there and keep the roots warmer. Because I did notice on mine, and I don't think I got a good picture of it, but if this was the wall last winter and I had my raised bed out to about here on the inside, and I have an airspace, I have a big airspace, but I got a gradient, same plant, taller towards the inside of the greenhouse, and it was still a little bit stunted here, and I'm wondering if that's because the roots were colder. So I did notice that. So I moved things around this year to see ones that like a cooler root would do a little bit better right against the window, because I can't really insulate mine the way I built it. I could probably dig it up a little bit and put some insulation, like if I really wanted to move it around. But this year I was feeling a little bit tired after digging up the heat sink, so I didn't really insulate my root area.
Very cool.
But it worked pretty good. And if you want to take some of your paving stones actually and put them in between rows in your raised area, because they'll store heat if they're getting sun during the day. So leave a little bit of them above ground. So leave a little bit above and just bury the rest of it in there, and they'll act as little mini heat sinks too. They'll heat up during the day and kind of heat around the roots if you have spots. So
that's a great
idea. I mean,
idea.
you might have like itty bitty little stones like that. Just stick them in.
Okay. Awesome.
Little tricks that you learn when all you have is cold.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
And it's a big rush, isn't it? Before the cold comes, it's like quick. We're like the little squirrels hiding the nuts, right?
Oh, I have squirrels. They love my garden. Me and squirrels have this little love-hate relationship. I'm like, oh, I love to watch you leaving. But I brought a pepper plant in that I had outside this summer to finish the last couple that were ripening. And I looked down and there's a peanut growing.
Oh, where'd that come from?
Well, normally what they do is they dig up all my bulbs and replace them with peanuts. So I've almost given up planting bulbs because the squirrels dig every last one of them up and drop a peanut in. And I guess some of my neighbors are feeding them peanuts, these big shelled peanuts, because we're definitely not growing them here.
Peanuts coming from?
So someone's feeding them, and they run over to my yard, dig up all the bulbs, throw them around, and drop peanuts into the hole and run away. And so that
sounds like a conspiracy. You might want to go check your neighbor's house. They probably have a beautiful bulb garden. Maybe they train the squirrels, you know?
They might be doing that, you know. They might be doing that.
Kind of smart.
That's okay. I'll just give up on the bulbs there, you know. Unless it's an onion, I can't eat it, so.
This is true. Aw. All right.
Well, it looks like we're getting to we got about 10 minutes left. Was there anything you wanted to say about your biodome, Bren? Because, I mean, it's cool. I don't have a dome. I've got a different kind of greenhouse.
Right. It's really cool. I mean, I'm happy I have the conventional greenhouse to compare it to. It definitely outperforms the greenhouse. And I mean, every time I open the door out there at the dome, it shocks me every time. I'm just like, you know, like after we had that really, you know, that the sudden cold spell we had, and I didn't have heat in there or anything. It was all just, you know, from the water and the bricks and all that mass I put in there. I was just so impressed that the next day it was still above freezing, and the plants look great. I mean, I had I'll be honest, I did have, I think there's 3 little pepper plants, little Thai pepper plants that I put in between some of my kale, just because they were in the raised bed or the window box that I and those seem to got a little zapped. I mean, the leaves turn yellow and they look kind of mushy now, and so they're down, they're down in the ground itself, right? But now the 2 pepper plants that I have up in a container that sits about, maybe 2 feet off the ground, those were fine. So
it could have been transplant shock. It could have just been transplant shock.
Right. And you're right. Mm-hmm. I've just done it maybe 2 days before. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they were probably already stressed, and then they just didn't have enough to handle a temperature difference as well. So I don't know it would be temperature, because mine goes down to 5 Celsius. And if you've been following my periscopes or any pictures, you could see that I have ones that I planted in the beds that grew in my raised beds all summer. And I'm just leaving them there because what they're going to do is they're going to go dormant at that temperature, and they're going to drop all their leaves and turn it into a little stick. And I'll grow up my lettuce around them. And then in spring, they'll come back out of dormancy.
Very cool.
So I'll have a little bit of a head start on everything that's going on there, and hope to have them growing peppers a second year. And since they have all the root space they want, they're not confined by a pot. They're in a raised bed, so they should do really well. And I should actually have a second year plant, because in some climates, believe it or not, peppers are perennials.
Wow.
Yeah,
cool.
Who knew? I'm like, peppers.
That's awesome.
Oh my God, those things die at the whiff of the north, but they're going really good. And I overwintered some in pots last year. They went dormant. I went, oh, okay, well, I'll just leave them there because the stalks looked healthy. And they grew leaves again in the spring. And I ended up with an entire second crop of peppers off of these plants. And they started going really, really well. So I'm just leaving them in the beds this year. I'll let them go dormant as sticks. I'll work around them all winter. And then in the spring, they should come back up with a really strong crop of peppers again. So I'm hoping that works out well.
You answered my question that I'm going to just leave those little peppers in there. Maybe they'll come back, Yeah,
I mean, the ones with transplant shock might not make it, but the ones in your pots, they should. The ones that are in the pots already. Yeah. And if you're really, really worried about them, cut a hole in one of your straw bales and drop them right into the pot, into the straw bale to insulate the pot.
Oh, smart. Okay.
Yeah, just you've got your straw bales there anyways to hold heat into some areas. Just cut a hole into the straw bale, take a ice auger or a fishing auger or something, and just drill right down into your straw bale, and drop your pepper pot into it, and it should insulate it to help it overwinter.
Very cool. I need more bales.
I'm sure there's a sympathetic farmer somewhere who has spoiled hay.
Yeah.
And she has lots of spoiled hay.
Not a problem. Yeah. Yeah. How fun. That's awesome.
So I don't know if anybody had any questions. I know that we've got a number of viewers, and you can type them right in the side there. Import. We have a call-in.
I'm not familiar with that. Hey.
How are you?
Hello.
Hi.
I'm guessing you're here to talk gardens.
Where are you from?
We're from Canada and from Ohio.
Oh, I'm from Netherlands.
Nice.
Okay, are you growing anything in greenhouses?
Sorry. Wait. I'm going to.
Oh. I don't know what that was.
That's okay. So I'm not sure if anybody else had any questions. No, doesn't look like it. Okay, well, this was a good introductory chat, I think. Brent and I are going to keep trying to do this on Thursdays at 9 p.m. And so if people have topic suggestions, we're going to keep trying to talk about growing in the north, greenhouses sometimes. Bren's going to have a lot of updates on her Biodomes because this is her first year with it. So kind of happy, kind of excited, kind of scared.
Yeah. I'm not really scared anymore, actually. I'm pretty impressed.
It's amazing what the plants will do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like they just want to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think we'll have updates there. I'm hoping to bring in some other people, talk about solar wrap, different materials that you can use to build your greenhouses with, different things that have worked and different things that have not worked. I've definitely got some experience with the not working. I try to blog about it when I have time. And that's kind of where I've learned that aphids are just these crazy, evil little monsters that take over the world.
Right.
So I'm not very much a fan of aphids anymore, but I'm a huge fan of biocontrols. They take care of everything for me. They're wonderful and they do it all for me and they're happy to do it. So you can't ask for better helpers.
Awesome.
And things like, venting, you can't vent in the winter. So I think this year, because of the humidity issues, and they're really extreme. They are. I'm probably going to get a small dehumidifier in there this year. So hopefully we'll keep doing this. And we'll probably switch up formats. We might do them on BLAB. We might do them on Twitter. We might every so often maybe run a Periscope. Depending on what's the best option. I wanted to actually host out of my greenhouse today, which would have been really exciting. But what I've discovered is I'm just going to have to, I've got some conduits that actually run 7 feet under and up into the greenhouse. I put some empty conduits in when I built it. So I'm going to run from my basement, I'm going to run an Ethernet cable all the way out there and to the greenhouse with a little wireless access point.
Nice.
So that, I was losing connection. It just wasn't good enough for what you guys would have seen tonight. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe another night I'll have it set up. I'll get an access point in there and I'll be able to host out of the greenhouse.
Yeah, that's my goal too. You can do it, girl. Just run some wire out there.
Yeah, you've got a different distance to get.
Yeah, but I like it like that. It's kind of my little getaway, right?
It is. They're addictive, as Bren's learned. So if anyone else has a greenhouse, let us know. That would be exciting to hear from you and how things are going for you. And that would be really, really fun. And quick warning, they're addictive. So if you don't have one yet and you end up getting one, you're going to want to live in it. I used to joke about it. Now I'm just like, oh, wait, no, I planned it with a table.
Yeah.
And I use that table. I go in there and I take my tea and I run out to the greenhouse in January. And it's 20 degrees in January. I'm, jacket off, sit there with my tea, take out my garden books, and I plan my next garden.
Yeah, that's nice.
So, well, thank you very much for sharing with us, Bren. Looking forward to doing this again next week. Happy Thanksgiving to all of our American friends who ran away from family and joined up with us today. So happy Thanksgiving to all of you.
Thank you.
And I'll just be jealous about Jay and the apples and all the turkey and the stuffing. And I've got a piece of a cookie here.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very good cookie.
I wish I could send you some pumpkin pie. I have a half a pie out there. I didn't even have a piece yet.
Well, you enjoy that pumpkin pie. And Luke, I really, really hope that you get to building a greenhouse. Stay tuned, follow along, ask questions when you have them, and we'll try to help you out because, as you noticed, Bren has a biodome. I've got one off of my garage, and some people use cold frames, so you'll be able to find one that works exactly for what you need. Okay. Well, I'm going to sign off here. Thank you again for everyone who joined in. Thanks for the questions, and enjoy your Thanksgiving if you're celebrating.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, bye.